first lived in Latvia as a diplomat between 1996 and 1999, a few years after Latvia regained independence from the crumbling Soviet Union. I returned to live in Latvia in 2022. This podcast series is based on my observations and experience, with some history and comparisons with my home country of England on aspects of life in Latvia and things to see and experience. On St. Saviour's. St. Saviour's Church stands proudly on the bank of the River Daugava in the old town of Rīga. It is an Anglican parish church that is part of the Church of England. It has a very appropriate address of Anglican too. It was founded on British soil, shipped to Latvia in 1857 and built with British red bricks. It has a fascinating history, from being made by British businessmen in Rīga for wayward British sailors to being closed down as a church during the Soviet-Russian occupation and becoming a student club, to reforming when Latvia regained independence as a church for an English-speaking congregation. Let's look at its remarkable history and talk to its chaplain. In the early 19th century, British traders were active in the territory now known as Latvia, and British sailors were a common sight on the streets of Riga. On occasion, the sailors got into trouble and were incarcerated. Partly in response to this issue, British businessmen in 1806 established a British Poor Fund whose purposes were threefold. Firstly, to provide temporary relief for distressed British subjects. Secondly, to endow a British clergyman to celebrate services according to the rites of the Church of England. And thirdly, to build a church and residence for the clergyman. A congregation was founded in 1822. St. Saviour's neo-Gothic church was designed by Johann Felsko, a Baltic German architect and urban planner who was chief architect of Riga for 35 years and was instrumental in creating many famous buildings in Riga. The church's foundation stone was laid in 1857. A shipload of earth was sent from Britain to build the church on British soil. Bricks were provided as well. The church was dedicated in July 1859 by the Church of England Bishop Walter Trower as the Church of St. Saviour in Riga, and the first regular church service was held in November 1859. Church use was halted during the Soviet occupation, and in 1973 it became the home of the Riga Polytechnic Institute Student Club. During this period, the church building was renewed and it became a cultural centre and venue for concerts, exhibitions and dances, a Soviet-style disco. After Latvia regained its independence in 1991, an English-speaking congregation was again formed at St. Saviour's under the guidance of the American Lutheran pastor Arden Haug. In 1995, the Reverend Juris Kalitis, born in Latvia, assumed the responsibilities of pastor of St. Saviour's. On his retirement in 2014, Jana Jeruma Grimberger, the former Lutheran bishop in Great Britain, became the priest in charge. After she retired in 2019, Elisa Zikmana, Dean of the Lutheran Church in Great Britain, became the current chaplain in 2020. We will talk to Chaplain Elisa in this episode. Today the church is home to the congregation of St. Saviour's. It has a service every Sunday at 11 a.m. in English and often has music concerts midweek. it has continued the outreach work from its origins, no longer with wayward British sailors, not even drunk British hen and stag party revellers in Riga, who disappeared at the start of the pandemic and never returned, thank goodness. St Saviour's operates a soup kitchen for homeless people in its Undercroft and supports a club for the elderly. I believe the soup kitchen serves soup, bread, porridge and fruit. Very Latvian. Something that struck me is St Saviour's focus on inclusivity. I like that. In my work, I mentor my public relations apprentices working at UK organisations to ensure their communications are as inclusive and accessible to their audiences as possible. I love the poem on St Saviour's website and will read it to you. It made me smile and laugh. We extend a special welcome to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, filthy rich, dirt poor. We extend a special welcome to those who are crying newborns, skinny as a rail, or could afford to lose a few pounds. We welcome you if you can sing like Andrea Bocelli, or just growl quietly to yourself. You're welcome here if you're just browsing, just woke up or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more Christian than the Archbishop of Canterbury or haven't been in church since Christmas 10 years ago. We extend a special welcome to those who are over 60 but not grown up yet, and to teenagers who are growing up too fast. We welcome basketball mums, hockey dads, starving artists, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or still addicted. We welcome you if you're having problems, or if you're down in the dumps, or if you don't like organised religion. We've been there too. If you blew or you're offering money at the casino, you're welcome here. We offer a special welcome to those who think the earth is flat, work too hard, don't work, can't spell, and those who are here because Granny is visiting and wanted to go to church. We welcome those who are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now, had religion shoved down your throat as a kid, or got lost in the old town and wound up here by mistake. We welcome pilgrims, tourists, seekers and doubters, and you. I met Chaplain Eliza at St Saviour's. I wanted to learn more about the church's rich history, its present congregation and activities, and meet Grācija, the church cat.
Yeah.
So this is an old church being renovated at the moment, and as an old church it must have lots of stories. Can you tell us some of the stories about this church, things that you found amazing, enlightening, interesting?
This church is really, really interesting because it has a very interesting history. It was built by British people for British community, a very diverse British community, and survived for many years, and then it experienced the wars. The community grew during the independence of Latvia, and then during the Second World War, the British left. Congregation of St. Peter's. They moved in, and after that, this place was used as a disco, where they met their first love and had their kiss and got drunk. Also, but there are many fond memories people have from that period. But that ended when Latvia regained its independence, and the building was given back to church, to worship. Now it's still a church, but there's still not only church services taking place, but concerts and theatre performances. And it is used by several congregations. not only Anglicans but also Lutherans. And we are going through renovation works at the moment, and it will be even more beautiful as it is now. One of the stories I would like to highlight is that during the period when this was not used as a church, pieces of furniture like altar, pulpit, lectern, they were given to other churches to preserve them. And in recent years, we got them back. It was nice homecoming and gathering of those objects, which also connect us to the history, and especially the altar, which is served without interruption, in this church, but also in a Lutheran church on the other side of the river for many years. But now it's back. It is a good feeling to have this history behind us, with all those layers of British community, with creative community being here, with international community as we are now, including Latvians and Russians who live in this country, towards future with that richness, with thanks, and really build on that. And because this church, as you also saw and mentioned, it's still in the process of being renovated and being built, and being on the river. So we see ships coming in, and and people also come from like cruise ships and visit us for just as tourists, or even stay for our services.
It would only be through historical records, but when the church was founded, Riga was a very different place with lots of British people, sailors. I was going to say that it has been over before pandemic. There were lots of British here as well, just coming for a weekend. But Riga was a very different place then. And what can you tell us about Riga at that time and its British connections and this church, St. Saviour's?
Now, I'm not as old as I was not present at that time. Although, people think, priests have been there for ages. But, that was a different place, and obviously British people started coming to Riga and other ports of then the Russian Empire after Peter the Great opened his country to the Western influence, and, lots of trade was done. The British people came here, and you mentioned sailors, and quite a few of them got into trouble, and as sailors do, and in foreign countries people could get in trouble. So the British community established the British Poor Fund in 1806, and one of their objectives was to help the poor who needed help, whether they were imprisoned or ill, or they needed, some sort of assistance, and also to build a church. Although there were many Scots and Presbyterians and Methodists, but altogether they decided to have a Church of England church. So it's always been ecumenical, and throughout the ages, and we still maintain this ethos of being open to people from many different church traditions. So that was the period when Riga was changing. And as we saw downstairs, old masonry, and there were buildings in this place before the church. That was the part of fortification of Riga, and that was demolished to open the city up to the river, to trade, and to enable city to grow. And the British bought the land, and were looking forward to building a church. It was mid-19th century, but it had to be delayed for 5 years because of the war in Crimea and the boycott. All the sanctions and so on. And then they could resume 5 years later. the building works, and this place was consecrated in 1859. And we could still see a few features from that period. Some of the stained glass windows, just a few fragments, and also paintings which covered the wall. But also just a few fragments remain at the moment, and maybe we will restore them in due course. Who knows?
You, Chaplain Lisa, have been active, I believe, in 30 years in church, Lutheran Church in UK for a number of years, Church of England perhaps more recently. And I know you were born in Latvia. Why did you come back to Latvia and St. Saviour's particularly?
Yes, as you said, I've spent a number of years in England serving a Latvian and international community in London, but also in a Western country and Ireland and in Channel Islands. For me, it was time to come back because of family reasons, but also I think the world is changing, and Britain at that time as well, with Brexit and all sorts of things going on. Then I thought, it would be nice for me to come back to Latvia. And in Latvia, women who are in ministry do not have many opportunities. This vacancy came up, and I applied. And I know my predecessors. I know Juris Tālītis, who was my professor at the university, and I know Bishop Jana, with whom we shared a church in London, and so therefore it was coming to a place where I knew people, and the experience I had before was similar, because Lutherans are a tiny minority in England.
Yes.
And Anglicans here are a tiny minority, because our community is very diverse.
Yes.
Not many of them are Anglicans, but some of them are. But people come from different parts of the world and different walks of life. It is quite a transient congregation, which is sometimes difficult, because investing in people when we know that they would go on to somewhere else. But at the same time, it's exciting. You never know who will turn up.
Yes.
On Sunday. And if you come as a member of congregation, you do not know whom you will meet, from which part of the world.
Yes.
And we always have time for fellowship after the service, of teas and coffees, so people could mingle and say hello to each other, where you're from, where you stay.
My last question has to be about someone who's been following us around a little bit here, the church cat. I think her name's Grācija.
Yes.
Now, how long has Grācija been here, church cat? She seems to own the place. Tell me more.
Yes, I sometimes tell that I'm here just an assistant to Grācija. She's the boss. And she's been here for a number of years, definitely before she arrived, before my time. The main reason, as with other places, churches or cathedrals which have cats, the main reason was to keep mice at bay. And so she still does that job. She catches mice, because in Old Town and all buildings around us, we need, a cat. She does other jobs too. She's very much into public relations. As people, staff always comment, when they post a YouTube video with an organist playing organ, they just a few likes and a few people watch it, and when a video or photo of Grācija appears on Facebook, then everybody responds. And because she's a very friendly cat, and she takes part in church activities, comes to services and concerts and staff meetings. During COVID, she did Zoom. usually when she comes to bigger events, she chooses somebody in whose lap to sit, and those people are allowed not to stand up during the service because they have the duty to be with her. But also during COVID, it was really touching to see people coming in when people could not socialize and had to keep distance. Especially touching moment was when a family of Iranian refugees came in, and they could not speak Russian, and even their English was very, very basic. But they saw the cat, and they could stroke the cat, and that really made them, welcome and make that connection, with something to, reminded them of home, homeliness. So therefore, Grācija is a very valuable member of our staff, and she teaches us how to be yourself and how to be loved and how to accept love, because she likes people coming to her to show their love. She's not afraid, she's not aggressive, and she does not run away. Sometimes when she's a bit overwhelmed, then she goes. But I think that's a lesson we could learn in the church, how to, for us, how to be fully human and how to accept love, how to be loved. And love as well, but also how to be loved, we are in this loving environment.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. At the end of the interview with Chaplain Elisa, my son was found fast asleep, cuddled up next to Grācija. In conclusion, St Saviour's, centrally located in Rīga Old Town, is well worth visiting, whether attending a Sunday service, listening to a midweek concert, or learning more about this magnificent church and its diverse congregation, past and present, or even to find the church cat.